So let's go ahead and get this thing started. Welcome, you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. It is Wednesday once again, hump day, and we're here for the Zoom at noon. So I've got a handful of things that I want to share with you today. But as is typical, I want to kick things off with our core partners who have joined us today. And it looks like that's you, John. Are you ready?
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to find a little mute button on the computer. I found it. How you guys doing?
Absolutely incredible, my friend.
Well, it looks beautiful outside. I hope you guys can get outside and enjoy the weather. It's going to be in the 80s, right? Awesome.
Indeed.
And I'm sitting here working. No, it's all good. So anyways, just wanted to say hi, and I want to cover a couple things. We had a situation over this week I wanted to share with everyone without naming names or anything like that, but just kind of one of those cautionary tales of we all learn things along the way and we share stories so that we maybe can try to prevent something like that from happening to us in the future. And it has to do with the flip rule for FHA. So we had a situation where borrowers went under contract and the property was a flip. And you can tell, right? You can always look at the tax records to see, hey, look, we can see this one was bought a couple months ago, and now it's it's pretty obvious. Usually, the kitchen's redone, the side is redone. They've done a bunch of work, and they're trying to flip it, and make money, which is fine. For most loans, VA and conventional, there's no specific rules really on flip properties per se. The lenders can have their own guidelines and overlays to say, look, we want to have confirmation that there's really been some improvement here. Give me a list of the improvements that have been made, and so we can justify this increase in value. And obviously the appraiser is the other safety valve there to make sure that the value is reasonable. For FHA, it's a little different. They are a little bit more picky about properties that have been flipped. And this is as a result of people taking advantage and basically doing it fraudulently during the boom years in 4, 5, 6, 7. And so they passed these rules, basically said the property has to be owned for 90 days. And then the purchase contract for the sale to the new buyer cannot be ratified until the 91st day. So the 91st day after the current owner has purchased it. So that is based on when they signed, not when it was recorded at the courthouse, but the day that they signed it. They're closing when they bought it. So in our instance, the buyer bought on the 31st of December. And we realized after the appraisal came back that the title transfer date previously basically happened in December of 20. Our purchase contract, these buyers were doing an FHA loan through VHDA, so FHA. It was ratified on March 26th, so it's like day 85. So you would think in a world, a lot of things don't make sense in our world, but it's kind of arbitrary, right? It was like, well, let's just amend the contract date, or what do we do? Like, how do we fix this, right? Because it's really, what's the difference? Because it's even more time has passed now. We're not another 30 days under our belt. But here's the problem. On that appraisal, that case number that's been ordered, it basically has a date on the contract, on the appraisal of the contract ratification date. And it has, if that date is basically prior to that 91st day, the FHA will not insure the loan. So we're in a situation where what you have to do is you have to cancel that case number that's assigned, kind of attached to that appraisal, right? You have to then terminate that contract that you have. Then you have to re-ratify that contract with the exact same terms on that same day that you terminate the other one. Then you have to basically take that new purchase agreement, order another appraisal, order another new case number once the other one's been canceled. Okay, everyone tracking so far? So it's this whole mess, right? So it's this train wreck that occurs. And obviously when you're looking back at the situation, it's like, well, how could we have known this was going to happen? How could we have been done something differently. And, generally, if anybody who does flips on a regular basis, if I'm a seller or a company that does flips or anybody and has an agent, it's a rule that's known, the FHA flip rule. If I'm going to accept an offer from a buyer who's using an FHA loan who's on the contract, it's not like a surprise at FHA, then I need to make sure I just need to wait till the 91st day, and then everything's good. Because we don't research the title transfer history on every property that we do at the beginning, because it's just not something that we do normally. It's not something that we run into. It's rare that it's ever an issue. But on this one, it was. So we're going through the process now of the rigmarole of terminating the active contract. We have to. So there's just a lot of stuff that has to happen now. It's going to postpone closing. The good thing is, you can get the same appraiser back out to do it again. They have to go physically back to the property, but they'll use the same report because it's recent. So that's a good thing. It can save time, but it can just end up being, if we would have waited another 6 days, and then you're asking yourself, like, why is 6 days matter in the scheme of things? It's crazy, but that's just their arbitrary rule, and the government loves their arbitrary rules, and that's the rule. So what can we do if you're buying a property that is, if buyers are looking, and we all know a flip, you will look at the transfer, like the information that we have available on the MLS or Realist, and it'll say the previous purchase date. If that date's even remotely close to basically 90 days or less from current, let's double check if it's an FHA loan. Let's make sure that we're not going to run into that same issue. Let's and ask the seller, hey, when was the closing of, because on Realist it shows, usually I'll show the date that it was recorded in the courthouse, not the date in which it was signed at the closing table for the seller. So see when that date was and just check. So that's just one of the things that you learn the hard way, or not learn, but more so experience the hard way. And you look back and say, well, I'm sure we could have looked back at the history earlier. But it's just, again, it's such a kind of a rare situation. So has anybody run into this before? Does anybody have any questions about this at all? No? Okay. Well, I just want to kind of.
I have a question. I was wondering, does anybody know how long it takes for when a house sells for it to show up in Realist?
It's a good question. Jason, do you know that?
I really don't. Yeah. I don't know how long it takes to show up.
The data is pretty quick. I think it all flows through the MLS system, right? So when Stacia inputs a case sheet or the data, does it go to RAIN or does it go to the MLS, Stacia?
Well, where'd my video go? So what happens is when we mark something sold in the system, it feeds out to all of the websites that it would feed out to when we first put the listing in. So it should show up instantly. Now, it's when it's recorded down at the courthouse for it to actually show up in tax record. That's going to be your most accurate, is pulling the city records, probably from the city website, to find out the actual date of, closing.
And that will differ city to city, I'm guessing.
Correct. Some cities are
Frame of the month, and
and some are still a couple months behind. So,
Oh, wow.
It's a hit or miss.
Yeah,
There
are houses on my radar that I'm seeing them turn over off the market, so outside of MLS. And
right,
then I usually watch, or I've spent a fair amount of time, at least like on my closings, just how long it takes to turn over in the tax records. It takes a minute. Like, I don't think it's in there within a week. It might be longer. Anyway, I was just curious if anybody knew. If anybody else.
It just depends also on when the courts send it to the RMLS. But there is a question in the chat box. It says, has the FHA ever said why they insist on this instead of just allowing a contract extension? That was Scott.
That's a very good question. That's a logical question. And I think the rationale behind it was creating an arbitrary time frame to basically slow down the purchase of basically churning properties over and over again, and almost trying to dissuade people from doing flips that are utilizing FHA loans. Again, I'm not sure. To me, it's an antiquated rule, and it doesn't make sense, because to me, it should be just based upon when the case number was ordered, not when the contract was ratified. Because what does it matter? So what you can effectively do is you could, if you have a conventional buyer and FHA buyer, the FHA buyer can end up losing on the property, right? Because they can ratify at day 80 on their conventional, or you have to wait till day 91 on FHA. So FHA and HUD saw a risk associated with flip properties. And what the government always does is, okay, well, what can we do to try to fix this? And they say, well, we're going to put a flip rule, and we're going to make this rule. And then once it becomes a rule, I'm sure it went through vetting and there was reasoning why, but it's really hard to change it. And there's no avenue to say, hey, HUD, excuse me, why this is ridiculous. Because if you do what you said you do, well, let's say that you ratify a contract on day 2, and then you do a contract extension to day 91, then it's effectively not really the same. There's no waiting period at that point. You're not enforcing the rule. You know what I'm saying? Like you might as well not even have a rule at that point. So they're doing that to say this is the cutoff. Now there's some exceptions if it's a bank-owned property, if it's a HUD-owned property, that it's waived. So there's certain corporate sellers where they don't enforce it. So there are situations where it is waived, but most times for flips you just have to wait. It's one of those things where you just have to remember, if it's a flip house and it's FHA buyer, just look at the transfer date. So this appraisals in general, this last thing I'll touch on because I don't want to take up too much time, is appraisals are getting tougher and tougher. We are seeing the market get to a point where, and it's already been this way, but it's really now cementing the fact that buyers are so desperate that they're agreeing to pay significantly more than the list price. They want to pay the seller's closing costs. They want to guarantee over and above whatever the appraised value, they're guaranteeing the price, even if it's FHA or VA, which is great for the seller. But we are left and right running into problems with appraisals nowadays. Just in the last month or two, lots of VA appraisals. We're getting the Tidewater initiative, the Tidewater process initiated, and everyone kind of is expecting it to a degree, but it ends up being a lot more work for everybody. And it's really not a lot sometimes you can do when you have a really tight inventory where there's not a lot of sold recently in that whatever specific area. Or if you're on the edge of a leading market, if you're on the edge, well then, you don't have that comp because everything is right here, because everything is just progressing forward and increasing exponentially. And it's hard. So you guys just need to be aware of that, prep your clients for that possibility that, yes, we can go over and above, and yes, we can guarantee, but it's very possible we may have an issue with the appraised value. And let's talk about what happens if that occurs. What's our plan? If it comes at this level, what do we do? If it comes to this level, what do we do? And even though people are saying, well, I'm agreeing to pay over and above the appraised value, you got to be ready to do it, because it very well may happen, though we may not want it to. And we will fight tooth and nail on appraisals as much as we can, but it's a struggle. It's a struggle, honestly, to try to persuade an appraiser to change the value. So just want to put that out there. And then also it's springtime, market's heavy. So make sure you give us enough time on the processing. Our underwriting is already starting to get slightly backed up just from volume, which is expected this time of year. So just be mindful, trying to give us as much time as we can on the purchases to try to get them to closing. So does anybody have any questions at all about the process or anything that we've talked about?
Hey, Jonathan, I do have a question. From a mortgage loan officer perspective, when a buyer gets pre-approved for FHA loans, do you guys give them this spiel in this market it's going to be harder to find something? Because I feel like I'm having to be the bearer of bad news to my buyers that come with a pre-approval with an FHA loan.
That's a great question. And no, I haven't had that conversation because, that's a good conversation that we may start having though. And it's kind of sad, but what you're referring to is it's not just FHA, it's VA too, to a degree. And I think part of it is the perception, well, two things. Well, the first thing is with FHA and VA, you can't guarantee over appraised value. You can't force it. You can put in the contract, but you can't force that. So if I'm a seller, I'm worried about that. The other thing is, especially for FHA, the perception is that the buyer's not as strong, right? If you have a conventional loan and FHA loan, you just say, well, this FHA must be an FHA because they can't go conventional. Therefore, their credit is not as good. They don't have as much money. They're not as strong. When it's not necessarily the case, but that's just a perception. So it's hard to, you need to probably be over talkative to the listing agent about how strong they are. Especially if it's competing against VA. I've heard a lot of transactions where it's a lot of VA contracts. So again, they'll stack VA above FHA, but there's not necessarily a reason why. There's a perception that the VA is stronger than FHA. But that is a conversation. I don't like to have that conversation with buyers, but I guess I should. It's like, hey, sorry, I got you pre-approved, but it's FHA loan, so you might have a harder time. Now, if they can go conventional for whatever reason, I can get them pre-approved with conventional. I don't know if I could do that. I don't know why I would also go FHA, but the goal is maybe even more so for VA, if they can go both, to maybe try to have the letter conventional, then maybe try to toggle the VA potentially to try to do some sort of switcheroo there. But it's really hard. It's just really hard out there for whatever reason if you have an FHA loan. So I don't know if there's a good answer to that question or way to help your buyers out. I feel bad for them that they're having a hard time finding a place.
I had a question, something that you said you can't get, you can't hold them to cash backing over the appraisal on an FHA or VA. Can you elaborate on that, please?
Yeah, sure. So if you look at your contract, it's a section of like, if you're getting FHA or VA financing, it basically states it cites a portion of the mandatory clause that's associated with an FHA or VA loan. And it's called the mandatory or escape clause. And it's not something that can be stricken. This is a federal law. It says if you're utilizing financing for FHA or VA, and the appraised value comes in less than the agreed upon sales price, that the buyer has the ability to walk away without any harm, meaning you have to refund their money and you have to let them out of the contract. Now, that does not mean that the buyer cannot pay over and above, that they cannot choose to pay that money. But no matter what you put in the contract, you can't supersede that rule. Does that make sense? So if I'm a seller, if I'm a listing agent and you present me with a VA or FHA contract and you say I'm guaranteeing over appraised value, well, if the agent thinks that they're going to do it, the agent doesn't know what they're talking about, because at the end of the day, it's not, you can't enforce it. Because it's like.
No matter the addendums or clauses you write elsewhere in the contract?
Doesn't matter.
Wow. Okay.
Now, it doesn't mean the listing agent may not think it's enforceable. And if that's the case, then maybe your buyer's even in better position because they think it's enforceable and you have an out there. And again, then the hard part is like you have a lot of VA and FHA buyers who have the money to do it and will do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and they're willing and totally able to pay over and above. But it's just, and that, again, for that specific thing is when you're talking about having a VA or FHA offer, you can say, look, I know it's not enforceable, so you can maybe approach it head on, but I'm going to guarantee funds. I'm going to increase the EMD. I want to show you how strong this buyer is. They can have them call me. They have this much money in the bank. They have $50,000, whatever VA, and they have a bunch of money and they can cover it, just to give that added level of like, yes, I know it's not enforceable, but they totally plan on meeting that term of the contract, the guarantee, and they have the ability to do so. Because if not, then they just may not accept your offer and you may not know why, but that may be a reason why, potentially.
Good stuff. Yeah. Thanks, John. That was great.
Thank you.
Okay. So, and I think, it's we don't run into the FHA flip rule very often because, you know, most of the flippers and investors know about it. But we do need to be aware of it and remind, you know, if we're working with a new investor or a new flipper, we need to, you know, remember to counsel them that they should not probably look to accept any FHA offers within that 90-day time frame. So just for that very reason. So that's a great reminder of something that we don't see very often. So try to keep that top of mind when you're working with a recently flipped property, whether you have the buyer or the seller. So excellent. Good. All right, I'm going to jump over and share my screen and hopefully show you guys something you've never seen before. That's the plan. All right, share. There we go. Oh, so Evelyn found these funny listing pictures just a little while ago while looking for a home. And this is a live active listing right now, $400,000 in Suffolk. And I just thought it would be a funny way to kick off today's meeting because some of these pictures are absolutely ridiculous. And since it's not a Long and Foster listing, I thought that I could share it with you guys as an example of what not to do. And we could all laugh about it together. So, so there's some pretty good ones in here. And so my plan was to kind of highlight a couple of these, like this one, the kitchen picture. Oh, is that the prettiest kitchen you've ever seen or what? I mean, come on, people.
It looks lovely.
So
You can't even see, there's no counter space at all. The whole thing, there's nothing.
no,
Oh gosh, and look at that.
this is it looks like maybe a bonus room or something. You see the girl standing in the mirror here,
Yeah.
taking the picture. It's too funny. Yeah, trash all over the place. I mean, it's just, this is an example. I think it's a great example of what not to do. I mean,
Mirror selfies are Betsy's specialty.
what is
Mirror
this?
selfies. She takes them all the time in every listing.
It's just,
It's a Betsy's specialty.
and I get it. I mean, on one hand, right, the market is moving so friggin' fast, you could probably sell it without pictures. I think in this case, that would have been the right thing to do. This is the
These are real pictures?
yes, and it's an active listing right now. Yeah.
Maybe they're also advertising a yard sale on Facebook or something with these pictures.
How long- How
my
long has it been
goodness.
active?
I didn't look. Yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't
well.
look. So
Probably a while.
It was put
One
on the
day.
market yesterday.
Oh,
yesterday, one day. So,
be interesting to see how
That's a nice
fast it
counter,
sells.
like bar
Yeah.
thing. That's cool. That's different.
and maybe this conveys, and that's what they were trying to show off. It's kind of a good looking bar. This is a little gothic, I think, with swords and crosses hanging all throughout the dining room. I don't know. It's a very specific taste. So again, I'm not sure what they were highlighting there, other than they definitely need a bigger house. So, they definitely need a bigger house. And who doesn't have the exercise bike sitting in front of the couch? This is how you remind yourself not to sit on the couch, sit on the exercise bike. So, yeah. So
Maybe the
Good
agent
stuff.
was under pressure to get it out there.
maybe that was a lot of pressure. So yeah, good stuff. A great example of what not to do. You know, I don't know, obviously, anything about this company or this listing agent, but I'm afraid they let the seller take their own pictures. It's just not the way that I would have done it, and I'm sure it's not the way that you would have done it either. So,
Isn't that just a really good illustration of how crazy the market is, that they'll still probably get really good value for that property, because that's how they don't need to take pictures. You just throw it on there and it'll probably still sell really quick.
It is a sad state. Yes. Yeah, it really is incredible. So this is just, I thought it was just hilarious. I don't know.
So
You know,
those are the actual owners and they're not renters in the property.
That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that either.
It's not, the sellers want to rent back until
Okay.
June. I snagged the
Okay.
listing. I'm nosy.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is
Good to know who the agent
owner
is.
occupied property here. Yeah.
When they what? You don't want to sell it.
So let us know if you end up showing that one.
It also says former model home.
Oop, I read that too.
Not anymore. All right, guys. First home. Have you seen this before? Let me refresh this page. So this is a brand new Long and Foster initiative. They're putting together a platform to which they can use to market to young first-time home buyers, millennials, and Gen Zers. And so they've put together this animation that is, it's kind of cool. It's kind of quirky. It's totally different than anything I had seen previously. I'm guessing maybe it falls in line with some of the things the kids are watching today. I'm not real sure, but there's a video that goes with this, and I want to share it with you. So I'm going to click on this here, and then of course, if you guys want more information about this, we can get it to you. But this is coming soon. I suspect Long and Foster will be rolling this out to all of us in the very near future, and so, but I'm guessing
It's already live.
Yeah, I saw it. I found it in the cafe today. So it's not something they've talked about yet, though.
Right.
So I'm going to share this little video here.
It should be exciting. You're finally ready to buy a home, but you've never done it before, and you're unfamiliar with all the steps to take and the costs tied to them. And then there are the challenges you'll face to coordinate these different services, from figuring out what to do next to hoping you're doing it right. Wouldn't it be much simpler and safer if you had someone to help you navigate this journey? Don't you wish someone had the answers? With our first of its kind program, you get your own guide to help you navigate the home buying journey. Your guide will connect you with dedicated team members along the way. All of us are invested in your success. From knowing how much you can afford, to finding the right home, to a mortgage payment that works for you, the insurance protection you'll want, and movers you can trust. The same team and services are integrated in one company, empowering you to make the right decisions. We're able to work together to help you realize your dream of owning a home. How do you start? Just reach out to us. It's that simple. Because there's no place like your first home.
Cool, right? So
Entertaining.
yeah, no, that's something like I have never seen anything quite like that before. And so I can imagine they will be and are going to be pushing this out all over the YouTubes and the internets and the platforms that young people tend to gather around in order to generate leads for the agents of Long and Foster. So it's definitely interesting, and there's a lot of information here. And the idea is to assure young people that we have a plan for them. And if they sign up, obviously there's a lot of value. Prosperity is participating in this in various ways. All of the core partners of Long and Foster are participating in this in some way, from home warranty to title insurance to mortgage company, etc. And so it's a great way, I think, to display one of our strongest value propositions is that we are the one-stop shop and have been for many, many years, while so many other companies are just trying to figure this thing out. So it's kind of cool. But you can go in the cafe and find more information. They have a brochure. Obviously, there's a link to the website. In fact, I even found this today. This is a little discussion between Gary and Boomer talking about first home program. And so I'm going to play this real quickly too, just so that you can hear from the two presidents of Long and Foster on their description and intention for the First Home program. Bear with me.
One of the things I would say about the First Home program is buying your first home can be an intimidating process. It's something that you've never been through before. And what First Home does for you is it gives you a level of comfort throughout the process. You get somebody that helps you with mortgage, with title, with insurance. You get obviously a real estate professional to help you navigate a relatively complex transaction with the least amount of stress, guaranteeing a better result for you. So lots of times we have analysis paralysis when we do something for the first time. What First Home does for our consumers, for our buyers, is it gives them a crutch to lean on and make the process more efficient, effective, ultimately more enjoyable than it otherwise would be.
Not only that, and all that is spot on. It's one of the things we've done with First Home is we've aggregated 15,000 to 40,000 renters, and we've proactively begun to communicate with them everything Boomer just said. And so over a course of time, in a very deliberate, measured fashion, we're going to take this very complicated transaction, Boomer, what you said, very complex. We're going to simplify it. We're going to give you a trusted advisor, real estate professional agent. We're going to partner with all the aspects of the transaction. And when you take that piece of First Home, combined with what Boomer shared, what we believe is we're going to create a market in a faster fashion than maybe left to the device of people out there who are just kind of laying in the rental and not thinking about the building of wealth, not really being aware of interest rates at historically low. It's our job is to make the process easier, more effective, and more efficient, particularly for that first-time home buyer who's never experienced it before.
It's all about education and the consumer experience. So we take them through, we educate them, and then we take them through the experience. We cross the T's and dot the I's for them.
All right, cool. So any comments about that? Any thoughts about that? I thought that was the second time I watched them talk about it. And that was the first time, though, that I had heard them say that they're specifically targeting, renters with this plan, this First Home plan. I think that's brilliant. Which could lead us to our next discussion. I mean, where do clients come from? And so obviously First Home is a first-time buyer campaign, targeted campaign, and renters are generally the target of any type of marketing like that. And so, I just think it's a really exciting campaign, and I'm looking forward to getting some leads out of it coming into the Suffolk area. So, and Virginia Beach, of course, Lindsay. So,
Jason,
yeah.
so do you think since they're targeting, it will come in as to the agents that are doing the e-agent thing? Is that how the leads will come in?
They haven't specified that to my knowledge, but that is my guess. Yeah, it'll all be managed by the e-leads department in Chantilly. That's my guess. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
count me out.
So. Any other thoughts on that, or should we continue? All right, we're continuing. All right, so let's see. This, I don't know if you guys saw this today, Keeping Current Matters put this graph out today. This is in millions, homes built in the US by decade. This is significant. And this is a significant reason why we have such an inventory shortage. And so there are a lot of experts in the industry who, obviously refer back to this one thing being one of the primary drivers of our inventory shortage. Because as you can see, from 2000 to 2009, we built 27 million homes in the United States. After the crash, however, from 2010 to 2019, end of 19, so 10 years, we only built 5.8 million homes. And so we have this serious deficiency in new construction homes. And what does new construction homes do? Generally, they are a move-up home, right? And so generally speaking, the people that buy new construction are moving out of a first-time buyer home. They're where they started. And so when they move out of that into their new construction home, they're freeing up inventory for those younger first-time buyers. And this is the problem that we have now, and we've had for some time. And this is been described as one of the primary drivers as to why that's happening. However, according to the blog that came out this morning, year to date, we've already seen 1.7 million new construction applications in the United States. And so the builders, as you probably have noticed, are coming out of the woodwork quite literally. And there is new construction happening all around us. It's literally everywhere now. I saw them cutting down trees over on the street that I live off of. And my guess is they're going to be building there like they've never done before. So really interesting graph though. And I think that we should all be aware of this. And so when we're talking to people out in the marketplace, we want to let them know, because I've had people ask me, what's driving the market? What's driving demand right now? Why do we have this inventory shortage? And so this is a great reason that you can bring up in that conversation. Also, I wanted to share with you guys, if you don't know, the National Association of Home Builders, if you just Google National Association of Home Builders, they have several different designation programs, just like National Association of Realtors has designation programs. You can go to the National Association of Home Builders and take their online designation courses to learn more about new construction and the processes involved in marketing and selling specifically new construction property. Because I think this is something that we're going to be dealing with for a long, long time. Personally, I don't have a lot of experience selling new construction homes. I've only had maybe a couple in my career, but I do think that it's going to continue to grow for the foreseeable future, and that we should all have some level of knowledge and expertise about new construction and what to expect, and how they're built, and how this thing all works, and how to market them, and what to expect when we're representing a client going to purchase new construction. So definitely go to the National Association of Home Builders website and look up designations. I think that would be really, really helpful. Any comments, questions, thoughts on the inventory shortage, or generating leads, or listings, or buyers, anything like that?
Isn't there like a little more dialogue about the shortage being caused by holding, like, the stay-at-home order, and the pause on evictions, and the pause on foreclosures? Isn't there more dialogue about that? Because I feel like Long and Foster, with their starting their new home, their first-time home buyer, they're grooming those people. For when we have foreclosures. I feel it would give us time to get them like groomed for like a 2 or 3K or something.
That's a great point. So we do anticipate, and I don't know, maybe John could speak to this. I think we do anticipate some level of foreclosures. I've heard that number, somewhere around maybe 1 million foreclosures potentially. Once the moratorium and that other word have been lifted, but of course that's nationally. Yeah, the forbearance and the moratorium, foreclosure moratorium have been lifted. So, and that's a national number, and these are national numbers. So remember that we've got to, break that down into a local level, because as always, real estate is local. So
hey, Jason,
that we'll have, I don't know.
Jason, what's the I was reading some numbers on inventory percentages of the homes in Hampton Roads, like how much inventory has gone down from like this same time last year. And it's pretty astounding. But I mean, to comment on that real quick is there's multiple things going on. One is you got low interest rates, which is spurs people to buy. You got people who are buying lots more second homes and investment properties. So they're eating up a lot of the inventory. And that's kind of partly because of rates are low, and you also have the Airbnb movement and people wanting to have another place to go as opposed to doing more vacations. They want another house, right now. So we're seeing a big uptick in the purchase of investment properties, but a lot of secondary homes. So if you imagine before, those people weren't buying secondary homes as much, well then more primary buyers could buy. So that's one thing. So there's more buyers in the market, less inventory. No foreclosure, so you don't have that normal bit of properties, coming back on the market. So there's so many different reasons why inventory is low. Reluctance to list, reluctance to have people in your house, all that stuff that goes into it. But I don't know how long it's going to be like this. I don't know how long we can withstand this much of market appreciation, because it's kind of seems to be a bit artificial to a degree, but I don't know, man. It's tough out there.
I agree. I think at some point it's got to level out. Obviously, home prices can't continue to appreciate the way they are. And so, on one hand, I think that, if we do get an influx of inventory, it's going to help to cool things down, maybe get back to a more healthy market for everybody. But to Julie's question, they do talk in this article or this blog. It just came out today. So you might want to take a look at this or go find this. But they do talk about the impact of COVID on new construction, both before and post pandemic, and some of the pent up demand, while people literally, we almost literally hit the pause button right back in March and April last year as a result of the pandemic. And so there was a lot of pent up demand and people that wanted to move but were afraid to move. And we still have some of that. We still have people who feel like, they're just going to wait until this thing is well behind us before they decide to make a move. And so I think a lot of experts expect this surge of real estate activity to continue at least through this year, is what I'm reading and hearing. But I thought this new construction graph was really, really enlightening. What an incredible decline of new construction. Mm-hmm. So I think that it's something that we should all probably start to pay more attention to is new construction, and get some designations, get some knowledge, get some experience, get some training on that sort of thing, because I think we're gonna be dealing with it.
Jason, are you going to touch base at all on the quarterly agent forum that was held? Because if you're not, I just wanted to say for anybody that wasn't on that to go into the cafe and go into Stream and pull those charts that they had, because that was really great information about inventory shortage and everything too.
That was when was that? That was I wasn't able to attend.
Oh, okay. We sent the email out, so I thought you were on there.
No,
it was 2 days ago. They did, Long & Foster did the Southern Virginia Quarterly Agent Forum, and Gary was on there, and Greg, did a lot of the tech things, but they showed basically how to go into the hub and pull up the Stream and pull up the market inventory. They were looking at Richmond at the time, and Richmond, because where they were located, they pulled up that MLS had 0.7 months of inventory. Literally it was like 1,200 houses is all they had in that MLS to sell. So it was great. It really was good information. I took pictures on my screen as they posted it. and then posted it Facebook. So I would suggest if you weren't on that to go and, you know, I don't think they recorded that. Yeah, but you go into the hub and then pull up stream and you can watch it from there.
Well, right now, just to talk about how much inventory we have, we currently have 3 active listings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not under, like, with no contingents, like just available to buy right now. We have 3, which actually one of those is a piece of land. So we really only have 2 properties for sale and a piece of land.
Where's that at?
Our own
Oh, okay.
office, Suffolk.
Yeah. So another thing you guys can do too is something I like to do is if you log into Rain and then click on the dashboard, you know, it's got the hot sheets and, you know, it tells you, you know, over the last 7 days, how many new listings we've put in. It also tells you how many homes sold. What we've seen lately is more homes have sold than have listed in the last 7 days. That seems to be a continuing trend. So I don't have Rain pulled up, otherwise I would show it to you, but just log in to Matrix dashboard and look at that graph.
Good.
It's there. It's you know, new listings and versus solds. It's pretty remarkable. So
that was what they were saying on the forum, that you would expect, because we're 10% low in listings, that you would expect that houses were sold houses would be down, but actually it was also up 10%. So we have less houses, but we're selling more houses.
yeah, it's crazy. Crazy. We're running out. So thank you for that. Let's talk about the Rain rules changing effective next week, because they're really tightening things up, you guys. And while we all like to rely on our admins to keep us out of realtor jail, it is our responsibility to be aware of the rules and know, you know, when we need to get things turned in by and how this whole thing works, because we're all subject to Rain and the rules that they impose on us in order to make things more difficult. So, so you can see here on some of this, they've changed the rule. It used to be 2 days, now it's 1 day. It used to be 5 days, now it's 2 days. It used to be 5 days, now it's 2 days. And so I just want to make sure that you guys are considering the rules when we're putting in listings and submitting photos and you know, getting contingencies submitted. You know,
so
the number of days to report a listing as pending or under contract used to be 5, now it's 2.
Can I speak on the listing input?
Yeah.
It does exclude weekends and federal holidays. So just remember that if you date it for Friday, it can go in Friday or Monday. Saturday and Sunday doesn't count. If you put it in on a Monday, it has to go in no later than Tuesday. That's how it works. And if you put it in for a Saturday or Sunday date, if you date it those 2 dates, it can go in Monday or Tuesday, because that Saturday and Sundays don't count. So just remember that it's the next day now, not 2 days. So it used to be Monday, you could date it for Monday, and then you could put it in on Wednesday. It's not like that anymore.
So they're really, and I think that this probably has something to do with how fast the market is moving, you know, and I mean, they put in a listing and you call on it, you know, the next day and you find out it's already under contract, but the MLS hasn't been updated yet. And so the whole thing is just moving so fast. This is an attempt by Rain to make sure that the agents are doing their part with providing the information and updating the system frequently and regularly, so that you know, there's not a lot of misinformation out there with respect to the property's availability and such. So the unreported pocket listing rule was rewritten to clarify the definition of a pocket listing and to tighten the time to input a listing into Rain. This is what Stacia was talking about here. 2 business days to no later than the next business day from the list date, excluding weekends and federal holidays. So, so make sure that you guys are paying attention to this so that you don't face some of these fines, because man, some of these fines are really, really stiff. And of course we have the PDF right here. So, I mean, there's some hefty fines here. And so hopefully you guys can obviously log into RAIN and click on that big picture right there on the cover page and find this information. But I do think it's really important, and we should be paying attention to it. So I don't want anyone to feel like, you know, they didn't know.
And
Failure
some
to
of these
report a contingency, 200
well,
bucks.
some of these you do get a warning before they give you they'll give you like a few days to fix the error, like the photos. What they do is if after 2 days you don't have your photo, you only need one. If you don't have a photo within 2 days of putting that listing in, they usually, now since this rule comes out, I'm not sure what the true definition will be of this, but they used to give you a few days extra to get that photo before they charged you a violation. Someone just asked what a photo comment violation is, and that is when you put in the comments of the photo, because you can put basically paragraphs under every photo. If you like that wonderful listing, if you put any information about yourself, a link to a website that's branded, any kind of verbiage that links back to you, which to me sucks because it's your listing, but you can't do that. Just like in public remarks, there should be something about public remarks violation. You can't put any website, any notification about an open house. You can't do anything, no links, no names. You can't put yours, the company name, none of that can go in public remarks. I think that was actually on the other page as well. If not, I must have read it somewhere else because they just put that out as well. That might have been in an email.
Look at this one, man. If you're caught with what they call a pocket listing, it could be $1,000
to the firm.
Well, the firm ain't paying it. I'm charging the agent.
Jason, what's a pocket listing?
So a listing that doesn't get put in the MLS.
In the 1 day.
Yeah, within 1 day. So if you take a listing and you get the paperwork signed, but you hold on to that paperwork for a couple of days, that is going to be considered a pocket listing.
Wow.
Well, it's a pocket listing.
Jason, I just saw.
No.
Jason, I just saw a listing that said pre-sold. Is that the same thing?
Kind of.
You know, that's an interesting, because we see a lot of that actually.
Yeah.
You know, and so the without digging for more information, pre-sold could simply mean that you know, it was a for sale by owner who is selling to maybe a family member or something like that. You know,
FSBOs usually go in after it closes.
They usually put those in after the property has sold, or you know, closed, as kind of like an afterthought, so the agent can get credit and volume for the transaction.
Go back to that other PDF document because it explained a little. It gave a little bit about what a pocket license is.
Right there.
I mean, a pocket listing. I keep saying license. Me and this whole new agent thing. If you click on that change, it'll actually explain it better for whoever wants to get more in depth, so you don't do it. But it's basically when you don't put the listing in within the time frame, but then you're also marketing it beforehand. It's a little of doing a lot at the same time. And they'll hunt you down. They will find you. If you advertise anything that's not in the MLS, they will call you and tell you to remove. Actually, they won't call you. They'll call me and Jason. or Candy and Sandy and Carolyn and Kathy. They'll call them and tell them that you're advertising something that doesn't isn't in the system. Therefore, they will consider it, you know, coming soon, which is what they don't do. We're not allowed to do down here in Hampton Roads, even though we as a company, Long and Foster allows it.
Right.
I was Gary asked a question. That's just for our area because I get listings from realtors from all over the place talking about coming soon.
Yep.
And I have seen a pre-sold, but it was for some new constructions down in North Carolina.
Yeah, no, that's right. It's up in Richmond, they can do coming soons, and areas maybe all around us, they can do coming soon, but Rain doesn't allow it. And since Rain has a monopoly as the MLS in Hampton Roads, we can't do it.
Oh yeah, and there's a comment. It says, "And other agents will turn you in because they just do it." I mean, people will. There are people out there looking to make your life miserable, and they will find a way to call Rain and violate, like give you a violation, and it happens. If we don't put in the sold date in enough time, Rain will send us a notification. We were told this closed on this day and it still doesn't show it. And you have so many days to mark it sold. That's why when you get a signed HUD or Alta, you turn that in right away, even if you don't have the check and it's our listing, because then we can take it out of the system and you won't get that notification. It keeps you out of, like Jason said, realtor jail.
Very good. Very good. Any more questions or thoughts about this before I move on? All right, cool. I want to introduce you guys to a long time friend of mine, Mr. David Hancock. He started a company years and years ago, named after his kids, Morgan James Publishing. And so I'm just going to read this short bio here. And I want to tell you, what to expect. So David Hancock is a Wall Street Journal, USA Today bestselling author and the founder of Morgan James Publishing. NASDAQ cites David as one of the world's most prestigious business leaders, and he is reported to be the future of publishing. As founder of Morgan James Publishing, he was selected for Fast Company magazine's Fast 50 for his leadership, creative thinking, significant accomplishments, and his significant impact on the industry over the last 15 years. So David and I go way back. I mean, like 30 years back. He lives over in Newport News and travels all over the country talking about, how to build a business and how to be successful, and the power of performance-driven thinking, which is a book that he authored. It's called Performance-Driven Thinking. And so as a friend of mine, I think that I invited him recently to come and share with us. And so we do have a confirmation now. He's going to be here on May 26th at noon. For this joint session of our Zoom at noon. And so I just want to encourage you guys to please let the others know and to mark your calendar. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. I think that he has a lot of value to offer. And just to give you guys a little history, when David and I first met, well, not long after we met, he was a mortgage lender, working for a mortgage lender, and his job was to go around and visit and sell the mortgage lender's services to mortgage brokers. Back in the day, mortgage brokers were, big players in the industry. They're not nearly as much anymore. And so that was his job, was to go around and solicit mortgage brokers in order for the mortgage broker then to use his company's money to finance these mortgages. And so that was what he got involved in shortly after we met. And he was having a hard time getting his name out there and getting known and becoming the go-to mortgage lender for the brokers in the area. And so what he did is he wrote a book with himself as the author, talking about mortgages and the value that he and his company offered to mortgage brokers. And shortly after that, he became, very, very much more successful and popular in the industry. And so what he learned from that is that through building credibility, or having a credibility like tool, such as the book became for him, people will buy what you're selling. And so with that information, 15 years ago, he started a company called Morgan James Publishing. And now, in addition to writing his own books, he's helping others publish their books. It's kind of like an in-between, if you will, and he can speak to this much better than I can, but it's not self-publishing, and it's not, some big giant international publishing house either. It's something in the middle. And they've got many, many, many hundreds of authors now, and he's done really, really well with it. And I'm excited to have him come and share some of his thoughts and insights and coaching with all of us. So mark your calendars for that one. It's going to be fun. So May 26th at noon. Cool. That's all I got, guys. We'll wrap it up now if you don't have any more questions.
Jason, I have a question for you.
Yeah, man.
That house in Smithfield that you just listed, have you sold it yet?
Yes, I have.
He has.
All right, I'll tell my wife, never mind.
Doggone, man. Doggone it.
We were just out there last week looking at houses.
Oh my gosh, man. That would have been
That's
so
my
cool.
fault. Look, as her realtor, I have failed her.
Oh man, that's heartbreaking. So yeah, that was a beautiful home. We listed the other day, and we had six showings, and we had 3 offers, and we ratified last night around 7:30.
Yeah, Monday. It went in Monday.
It's a crazy.
I do have one other thing. I have 3 clients I'm trying to find houses for, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, around 250,000 or lower. So if y'all see anything, please let me know.
Absolutely will do. Yeah. And that goes to, the difficult discussion that Adrian was referring to earlier. I think we all are having difficult discussions with our buyers right now. And there's no easy way to buy a home today.
Yeah, I have a couple that's looking in Chesapeake, in the Suffolk area, up to like 465. I mean, they want about 2,800 square foot with a nice flat, but kind of medium sized backyard. If anybody has anything coming up on that. And then also I'd like to say a happy belated Administratives Day to Stacia. Sorry that I forgot that. And I'd like to, I think you're great. She covers all my stuff for me. She really helps me a lot, since I hardly ever go to the office. And also I'd like to give a shout out to Randall, because Randall stepped in a crisis situation this week when I was having to teach at 6 o'clock, and I had clients that wanted to see a property at 5:30 in Chesapeake. So thank you to Randall for stepping up to the plate there and helping me out. So yeah. And they did write an offer, and I just found out they didn't get it.
They didn't get it.
They didn't get it.
That's terrible.
It is terrible. It's very hard. This is their 3rd offer. Didn't get it.
That's happening to a lot of the agents.
Yeah. Yes. It's very hard. Like Adrian was saying, how do you explain to them? I mean, you keep telling them, well, you got to go up. You got to go up. They don't want to hear I got to go up. I mean, I'm trying to watch my budget. Well, if you don't go up, you're not going to get it. I mean, they went up 20, but I keep telling them, you've got to go up more than 20. you just got to, you know?
You're actually seeing that on rentals as well.
Oh, yes. Yes. It's crazy.
They're doing everything right and still struggling to get a home. It's tough. It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and just about the appraisal situation, I was just notified by the loan officer that I use that I had 3 buyers' appraisals came in low this morning. All 3 came in low.
Wow.
I love whoever's sitting in the back room. They put if they qualify for 300,000, need to only look at 270 to give room for winning.
Yeah, right. but they don't want a 270 house.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
They learn.
That's right.
I understand. They'll learn.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yep, I hear you. All right.
All right, guys. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.